Namasabhai. Sorry. It's very difficult to bring you all down to the earth after the awesome speech by Sonalji. But now that we have tasted the depth of Indian tradition, both from its manifestation to its core, you must have seen that it must not have been produced out of nothing. There must have been such deep study and in what we in the modern terms call science. That science, nothing other than that science could have produced that depth and that breadth of knowledge. So in order to really experience that, we should learn how to enter into our own literature, and that cannot be done except by enthusing our youngsters. And as Ram Madhavji has mentioned, this is all about exciting youngsters to get into our Indic knowledge and take it from what we have to newer heights. And to do that, to inspire them, requires first understanding what excites them. And nothing as of now, I'm going to talk about, so the title was suggested by Vikram Sampatji, I think. Shastras and data mining. Data mining is a modern term. It's a technology term, and Shastras is what we have. And how to connect the two. And why are we connecting the two? The reason for connection is mainly to show the innovation possible. And unless you show the innovation, youngsters will not get attracted. However great it might be, they want to, they want to show impact, make impact. And so my little attempt at achieving that is what I'm going to talk about today. So as we know, India was a developed country for millennia that has been studied, and science has been at the base of it. And next slide. And the proof of that is the staggering intellectual output. Even if you, let's say, put aside spirituality and its other things, just the intellectual output of India has been staggering in terms of just the numbers. There are 3 levels. One, of course, is written literature, the one that is passed on paramparagat, and of course the physical architectural marvels you have seen. Just even the written literature, the manuscripts of which we have. I was searching on the internet for what is the total size of manuscripts found in other, rest of the world compared to what we have. National Manuscript Mission, the counts are 4 million as of now and counting. 4 million manuscripts compared to 1 million the rest of the world. So, and that too before the advent of the printing press. So you can imagine like how much intellectual activity must have happened. And this is not actually covering, there's a lot of stuff that might have happened that is just coming through traditions, oral traditions, those kinds of things that might not have been actually captured. So even with discounting all the other aspect, there is so much that has happened. And now just a couple of examples. We know, again, I'm trying to focus on what we consider as modern scientific innovations. So recently I just came across in Tirupati, there was a study, 5-year study of rainfall prediction with Panchanga, and working closely with our Indian Meteorological Department on basically Indian Panchanga has to predict the rainfall patterns in a particular area or even maybe in the entire country 1.5 years ahead of time. Whereas the modern weather modeling basically does it maybe at the most 9 months, something like that. And they found that our accuracy is much higher than the modern weather models, and the reason being they take certain other parameters into account which the modern weather modeling doesn't take. And just as an example, so there must be a lot of study that must have been done to get that one. So similarly, there is a recent discovery that Bakshali manuscript. It talks about a square root algorithm that converges like at that means to the power of 4 speed. That means that much faster, and that was done in 2nd century, like at least 1500 years before Newton. And we, of course, we have our Ayurveda and so on. So we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot of Indic contributions, and there's a reason to study, go back and study what they are. Okay, next slide. So, so what is this Indic knowledge? Indic knowledge, is there such a thing as Indic knowledge, American knowledge? Yes, it's basically, by Indic knowledge we mean knowledge as developed and nurtured in India, just to set the context. And there are basically 3 we can look at the overall knowledge space into 3 buckets. The knowledge that the study of oneself or study of the subject, study of the object, that is the universe, and study of knowledge itself, which is basically organizing, codifying, processing, all those things. So if you this is one way to classify knowledge. If you do it this way, basically in the modern terminology, most of the study, most of the scientific innovations, the focus has been in this objective knowledge, what is called objective knowledge. But there is a huge opportunity for basically Indian sciences impacting the current situation with the other 2, which is the meta knowledge or the knowledge science, and the subjective knowledge, which is psychology and so on. Right? Okay, next slide. So now, this is just to give a background of what these Indic sciences are all about. There is, I was surprised to know that there is a methodology for writing scientific texts that is basically used across all Shastras, and that has its basis in this Pada, Vakya, Pramana Shastras, Nyaya, Mimamsa and Vyakarana, and they all have the same. The beauty is only one language is, you don't have to invent a new language to do science like mathematics. In our terminology, we have one language, Sanskrit. You just take a subset of it, that becomes the language for one Shastra. That's it. And then there is a common modeling paradigm that is adopted by everybody. If you know this paradigm, then entering into this world of Indian Shastras becomes easier. That is what I was discovering. And the other aspect of Indic knowledge systems is that they are highly interconnected. There is a saying that says, Ekam Shastram Adhyano na Nagachet Shastra Nirnayam. One who knows only one Shastra is not eligible even to talk about that Shastra. Okay, so so it is highly interconnected, and so because of that, it is actually a great thing about our knowledge system because of it, and it's also a stumbling block for newer people who are not trained in that model. Okay, and there is a Shastra for everything. Okay, Indians seem to be like fond of creating Shastras. Okay, next slide. And as I mentioned, so to really unearth this whole thing is a huge problem. As we mentioned, like there are 4 million manuscripts, and as if you know, manuscriptology, basically taking one manuscript and deciphering it and then proofreading it and all that stuff takes at least 2 years apparently, and without doing something here with respect to speed it up, it's impossible task basically, right? And so now you have our youngsters who are the only hope to be able to do this kind of stuff, and they are facing very big, big stumbling blocks. One, of course, the language is hard to decipher and understand, highly interwoven texts, and a steep learning curve, and the number of scholars who know that interdisciplinary knowledge are actually very few. And as you know, since next generation is with every generation the knowledge quality is coming down because of whatever reasons, that's a problem, right? Next. So, and the most important problem is the will is also going less right now. The reason is, I feel, this is my personal opinion, is that the potential for new innovation is not clear. If you talk to anybody, I have been talking to these typical IITs, IISc students, they are all interested in Indian stuff from, on a personal level. But if you ask them, will you do a project on something? They say no, because they cannot sell themselves to the market with whatever they do on this end. At least they think that they cannot, but so that's an issue. And it feels retrograde. It feels retrograde, and it's not something that they can actually innovate on and create something with the world doesn't know, that kind of thing, right? And the solution is basically, in order to really take this technology forward, I think this time is out, take the knowledge and mine it, you need technology, and you need really the latest technology, big data. Okay, as you know, 4 million manuscripts times the number of pages and the amount of metadata involved is huge. So to really do that requires technology, and it opens up a lot of very interesting, innovative problems. Even if the student is not interested in technology, not interested in Indic sciences, just applying whatever they are doing to the to exploration of Indian Shastras itself is a rewarding experience. Itself contributes to this. So that is second one. Second one is leverage new technology innovatively to make Indic knowledge more intelligible, in the sense to make reduce the barrier to studying knowledge. That is the reason. That is second one. And third possibility is to make traditional scholars who have studied the Shastras in the traditional way think about application mode. Okay, that is the other one. So there is, in all the three cases, technology and the marrying technology with Shastra studies has a benefit. So to do that, to do really these kinds of things, we have been thinking about a broad platform to make whatever has been developed so far into so that people can build on top of each other's work. Today it's all in shambles. There's a lot of point tools, a lot of excited work happened, useful, but in its own way. There's no way to put them together to create something bigger. And to do that requires a more end-to-end systems level thinking. And so this is the overall workflow that we basically envisioned. And next slide. So what does it take to help a person study Indic knowledge in a without having to memorize, which was the gift of the olden people, but which we don't have anymore, is that you need to provide them a multi-level view of the thing, where it starts from the root text. You should not rely on translations, but give them a step-by-step way to approach the root text. And so that requires, basically, we want what we call it as an e-reader for Sanskrit texts. And next one. So the broad projects that we are talking about is, one is the digitize, which makes it easy for processing, easy, accessible and searchable. Second one, to be able to convert that into information that can be actually mined. And the third one is utilize it for actually creating applications, useful applications. So in order to do that, okay, you can skip this slide. Next one. Next slide. Yes, so in order to do that, we have to, as I mentioned, we have a systematic approach we need to create, and that is what is the 3-layer model that we are trying to build. It's like the platform app model, where you can create a common platform that applications leverage on, and then on top of it have the users. Okay, next slide. So here is an example, just quickly, to illustrate the difficulty of studying Shastras. Here is a typical example text. Okay, it is lots of compounds and everything introverted. It's actually very difficult to go through. And then next slide. The difficulty is there at multiple levels. There is the exposition style is too detailed, hard to locate. What is the term? If I get a new term, what is its meaning? Searching it through in these books is very hard, except when you memorize everything and keep it in your head. Okay. So next one. Suppose you converted whatever that that thing into this kind of a graph, wherein basically what you are studying is one shloka, that is the 0, and you are basically organizing the rest of the sentences into something that you can drill down as you need. Okay, if that is what it can be converted into, then it becomes much easier to navigate the Shastra system. Okay, next slide. This is an example. We have converted basically one very primary text in Nyaya into this kind of thing. It's what it looks like. The point to note is that there's a lot of links. Each dot is a sentence. There's a lot of drill down that you have to do, and all that can be done as needed basis instead of sifting through this flat text. Okay, next one. This is another Arthashastra converted into a map. So this is the kind of stuff interface we're trying to develop. Next. And this is a basic text in Ayurveda that we are trying to make it simple for users. Next, last slide, I think. And the reason why this is all possible is because the Shastra texts are so well organized that by themselves they have that layering of semantic level understanding built into them. So you can actually, the Shastrakara himself writes a nice key of how to interpret his own book at the end of the book. That is called Tantra Yukti. So those kinds of things we can leverage to make this kind of a easier to navigate interface for the text. So next slide. And next slide. So now, so we are basically trying to create an easier approach to enter into our Shastra system in order to really appreciate the scientific contributions of India. You have to wet your feet. You have to get into one Shastra. And only then can you appreciate this thing. Otherwise, you cannot be cheerleaders. To help you wet your feet, we have a course that we are offering by scholars who understand both sides, the Shastra type and then the modern educated people, what they will be able to understand. And we are trying to offer that one. But anyway, so there is a lot of this interdisciplinary effort. Technologists and Shastra Pandits should come together to be able to do these kinds of things. And I welcome you all to help with this in any way and at least participate. Thank you.